Hello everyone, we are back again with next section of the mains approach, and in this particular discussion I would be discussing how to approach two important parts of your mains exam, and that happens to be Indian society and social justice. I have given special emphasis to these two parts because I've seen students generally miss these two topics as they assume that they know, but when it comes to writing the answer they struggle about it. The second problem which many aspirants encounter is find the relevant sources to study these two topics from. So I would be discussing these two topics, and I would be discussing certain previous year questions also, so as to give you a concrete base to start from and to go about the approaching to these two particular topics. And in this session you would know that these two topics are also not to be ignored for you to fetch the required marks to clear the cutoff. I have always said that do not underestimate any portion of syllabus that UPSC has given. Give UPSC the due respect that it deserves. And if you do not respect UPSC, you do not respect its syllabus, you do not respect the demands of the exam wouldn't respect you, and this is where you would be making your first mistake. So do not underestimate any portion of the UPSC, and do not be overconfident with respect to your preparation. Even if the topic looks general, trust me, if you practice, if you pay enough importance to it, you would always have a better margin, you would always have a better approach, and that would help you fetch more marks in that particular topic. So starting with the lecture, we are continuing with the same program, that is Awake 2022, and we have brought in this program to help students in their answer writing and main preparation. And this the sub niche that I would be taking of this program is Indian society and social justice. So one, where do you find these two topics in your main syllabus? It is part of, Indian society is part of, if you have gone through the UPSC syllabus, then Indian society is part of paper 1, GS paper 1, not the exams paper 1. And social justice is part of paper 2, again GS paper 2. In this, you would see it combined with governance, polity, and since you know the nature of governance and polity, this particular part also has been given under the same theme of syllabus, and you need to analyze the social justice part with help of government policies, welfare schemes, the issues, developmental issues with respect to social justice. So Indian society is about Indian society, obviously, and the GS paper under which you find this happens to cater to history, geography. So now you see these are static kind of topics where you don't need much current affairs. Indian society, but per se requires you the knowledge of current affairs because it is mostly the issues that are in news that are asked in the exam from this portion, but it also asks the static portion. Whereas social justice is entirely from the current affairs part, the scheme, the welfare schemes, the developmental issues and all those things. And I would suggest you to keep a tab on the important acts that have been there, the important welfare policies that have been there with respect to different sections of the group. It's more about the human resources and more so about the human resource which are at the margins of the society and how the developmental schemes have affected them, how actions of government or how actions of the state have affected them. So this particular portion caters to that only. I've given you a hint in which perspective the questions would be asked. Now, how to approach Indian society? One, and again social justice. One, people usually think that Indian society is nothing but general understanding of them as part of society. So if I ask you that which place do you come from, you would tell me, if you are outside of India, you would tell me India, and if you are within India, you would tell me the state from where you would come from. And if I ask you to give me the peculiar features of the place from where you have come, you would certainly bring in certain aspects of the society that you are from. So based on this common understanding, sometimes students underestimate the knowledge that is required to study this part or to understand questions when they face the examination. They feel that as every person knows his or her society, and any day you would be able to give me 4 or 5 points when I ask you to describe your society, that does not mean that you're ready for UPSC. Okay, the kind of questions that have been asked in UPSC, even though they, while in your first reading, they may appear to be very general, like they would ask the impact of caste on politics of India, or impact of politics on caste of India. You would be able to say that, okay, caste forms the vote bank of Indian politics, caste leads to the formation of political parties. But beyond these two sentences, how would you move ahead if you haven't read the subject, if you do not understand the reason why caste still persists in Indian society? So please understand that by looking the question which is looking seemingly easy, it is not necessary that you would be able to fill out the 200 words and the space in which that question has been asked. And this is, I am saying that it looks easy, it is also easy, but only if you have read it properly. So please read it. Do not feel that, you know, I can just do away with Indian society by reading, say, in 3-4 hours and I'm done. As you have prepared well for this exam, please give the due importance to this particular section also. It will help you fetch as many marks as are required for you to sometimes clear the cutoff. It would make that difference for you. So it is not generalistic understanding or general understanding that would take you further. You need to have command over the subject. You need to know the subject. I'm not talking about people who have the optional as sociology or anthropology. They would still, you know, be able to swim through even without giving a proper reading to the basic books I would be talking about. But for other folks who have other optionals, who do not have background in humanities like sociology, anthropology, all those things, I would rather say please do not take this portion lightly. Please go through it, especially for the people who are from science background, the engineers, doctors. Please read Indian Society and Social Justice. Second, why do you need to prepare is balanced analysis. See, sometimes you have a very biased idea of certain things. Our judgments are always marred with stereotypes, with prejudices. And if you do not understand the sensitivity of things, if you do not understand the sensitivity of issues, you wouldn't be able to do justice to your answer. You would be biased in one way or the other, against or for, and that is shown in your answer. You cannot develop that critical thinking over a period of 3 hours when you're writing your answers. That is humanly impossible. So to understand things, say when I write communalism, I'm just giving you an example. When I write communalism, how many of you think of only the rights based on religion that we have seen in India? How many of you thought about the partition that India experienced after independence, communalism? See, that is why I'm telling you the reason to read it, because communalism is not only related to religion. Communalism has a deeper understanding. It has a deeper meaning than just limiting your understanding to the rights that you see. Okay, and to understand this and not to write your answers which are you know, biased in one way or the other, and they are always balanced, because that would show you as a neutral person, that would show you as a person who takes neutral standpoint, and that is the quality of an officer, that is quality of an administrator. So to have this balanced analysis, you need to read the subject, have the critical viewpoint to see if they are asking, the question is, give your opinion on the effectiveness or prevention of SC/ST Atrocities Act. And if you're biased towards or against the SC/ST community, your answer would carry that. And to refrain yourself from such a biases, you need to understand the history that we have with respect to scheduled tribes and scheduled caste. We need to know their place in today's society. We need to understand till where have we come in ascertaining that we have a egalitarian society, how much of it the credit, how much of it can be given to government. Now certainly sometimes there are questions whether we should do away with the reservation in educational institutes and in the public employment. Again, you would have a certain viewpoint based on your own experience, but to ensure that that viewpoint doesn't look like as being biased towards one thing or the other, you need to have the basic understanding. Why in the first place did we have provision like reservation for certain communities? Why is it still required today or not required today? How can we do away with it if it is not required, or what are the changes that can be made to it? All these things are only possible if you have proper understanding, if you have that viewpoint with respect to things which is not generalistic. See, you are different from the crowd. You have to make yourself different from the crowd because you are preparing for that kind of exam. If you have the same layman understanding of things and you feel that you would be able to write your answers with that layman understanding, that then you have made your first mistake over here. So do not take this lightly, these things, the critical viewpoint, the balanced analysis, general understanding of things. Last, common sense. Obviously, if I ask you why the labor force participation rate in India is low, you would definitely give me the answer as patriarchy. That is common sense. Anybody would give me that answer. If I ask you why sex ratio in India is skewed, you would tell me that it is patriarchy. But do you think that you would be able to write your 200 words with just one word, patriarchy? It looks common sense, but it is not. There is more to it. Your common sense would take you to a certain extent. You can explain patriarchy, you can explain its impact, but if you have sound knowledge of the subject, then you are moving beyond just the common sense. Everybody would be writing the commonsensical answers. You need to stand apart to gain that 1 or 2 marks extra in the exam to have a lead, so that you are in a better position than all the others. You do not have to aim to to get 200 out of 200. No, you just have to be better than others. And how would you be better than others if you haven't read your subjects or syllabus properly? So that is why we are forcing or we are emphasizing again and again to you to not miss out on this particular part and read Indian society to have all these things in your arsenal when you go for the exam. Second, syllabus of Indian society. If you have seen the syllabus for mains in UPSC, you would know the Indian society has these things, that is salient features of Indian society. I am reading it out here, but I would suggest you to get it printed on a piece of paper or write it down and stick it onto your wall so that you know the areas from which UPSC is asking questions. Now sometimes the question is there in the exam and you feel why UPSC has asked this. You have no clue from where did this particular question drop or from where this particular word drop. That is because you are not well versed with your syllabus. If you read your syllabus well enough and if you are able to break it down, that is salient features of Indian society, diversity of India. I'll be taking you through the PYQs after this, and you would know that all the questions that UPSC has asked till now belong to one or the other portion of syllabus only, and they were not asked out of the blue. If you have seen your syllabus properly and if you have prepared each and every topic that is given here, there wouldn't be any question of Indian society or social justice that is beyond your range. You would be able to answer comfortably whatever the question is. So the syllabus speaks of salient features of Indian society. Then there is diversity of India. You need to understand what are the markers of diversity and break it down into the micro topics that you need to study. Then role of women and women's organization. See, these are two different things. Do not assume just women movement and condition of women in India. There are women organization also you need to study. Population and associated issue. This would be there as your part of demography. and you can see a part of it overlapping with your social geography also, or human geography. Again, as I've told you before, you need to make interlinkages while you are studying. And when you are reading geography, do not assume it to be only about the physical structure or topography of the earth or India. A part of geography also caters to human geography, and that would be helpful to you in dealing with this portion of Indian society, that is population and associated issues. Then there is poverty and developmental issue. Again, this topic also happens to appear in your GS3 part of economy. Both poverty and developmental issues are there. Again, you need to make the interlinkages and you need to see which paper is asking which question. If the question appears in GS paper 1, then you have to answer it accordingly. If it happens to be part of GS paper 3, then you have to answer it accordingly. This is where you would make a difference with respect to other aspirants who are answering the questions. If you have this knack to judge the question, the demand of the question, you need to understand the syllabus and under which heading does the question come from. So now you know that poverty and developmental issues are there in Indian society also, and if the question comes in GS paper 1, do not jump that why poverty is being asked in GS paper 1, okay? Urbanization, again it seems like a question of GS paper 3, that is economy, but it is part of society. Urbanization, their problems, their remedies. Effect of globalization on Indian society. See, the syllabus is very clear. It is asking for the impact of globalization on Indian society, not Indian economy. That is part of paper 3. So this is how you understand syllabus. Reading syllabus does not mean just reading it. You need to also understand that how is GS paper 1, 3, even though the topics are same, how is it different in paper 1 than paper 3? And last, social empowerment, communalism, regionalism and secularism. So this is part of your Indian society syllabus. And for social justice, if you see, again, as I have told you that your polity part, your GS paper 2 caters to polity and governance. And this you would see the state actions, the government actions, which is helping the marginalized section. The developmental issues are being taken care of. There are welfare policies, there are acts, judgments. All these things would fall under paper 2, social justice. So welfare schemes for vulnerable sections of population by center and the states, and performance of these schemes. How have they performed? That is, have they catered to the demands of welfare sections, vulnerable sections? Then the mechanisms through which we are helping the vulnerable section or marginalized society in India, the laws, the institutions which are there and bodies constituted for protection and betterment of these vulnerable sections. So whatever the state is doing in its capacity to ensure equitability to all its citizens, and when I say to all its citizens, the focus is more towards the deprived section of the people, the marginalized. So then it would constitute part of social justice. This is not economic justice, it is social justice. Socially, you are doing justice only when the last man in your society is able to have enough rights and enough opportunities as is available to the Prime Minister of India. Okay. Then issues relating to development and management of social sector and services such as health, education, human resources, and issues relating to poverty and hunger. So in this, poverty and hunger would be dealt with respect to policies of government. In society, poverty would be dealt with respect to say caste, with respect to tribes, with respect to the societal structure of society. In economy, GS paper 3, if poverty is there, then it would be with respect to the criteria for ascertaining poverty, the poverty line, the relative deprivation, absolute deprivation, the committees, the Tendulkar committee, and all those things would come in economy. So now you see one particular topic, when it is coming in paper 1, it has different dimension. When it is coming to paper 2, it has different dimension and understanding. In paper 3, it has different dimension. Now poverty can also be asked to you in your GS paper 4 also. Then it would have a different kind of connotation and substance. So please see very carefully whenever you are looking at PYQs, the composition of the question, the language that has been used in the question, and the demand of the question. You would always be able to answer better if you understand the question, and that understanding would come from reading of the syllabus. Now, as I told you at the beginning, that sometimes people miss out preparing this particular subject because they are not comfortable with the sources. They do not know where to read this topic from. Wherever they read it from, they feel that this I already knew. I don't think it has given me anything extra. But you need to understand that when you continue reading things, there would be a time when words would come to you automatically, and that is where it would help you in your mains answer writing exam. So one, I keep telling to the students, please read NCERTs. Many of you wouldn't have read NCERTs because you feel that they are say too easy for your level. Sometimes you feel that for society, since I already have a basic understanding, why should I put my time in that? I would rather read polity because I'm not very comfortable, or I do not remember polity, or there are other things that I need to take care of. But please understand, if you have your sources demarcated, if you have made notes, and if the question comes in exam, you would be able to give a better answer, and it doesn't require that much effort as it is required in say for you to fetch marks in polity. So with minimum efforts, if you can get that many marks in mains, all the questions are compulsory. You do not have a choice. So whether the question is of polity or society, you will have to answer. If it is of 200 words, both in polity and society, you have to give that many words. So you need to do justice to the portion, the syllabus of the UPSC. And if you are preferring one over the other, I would suggest not to miss out on the areas where even a little of preparation can give you a lot many marks. Okay, so sources I would suggest, one is current affairs. As I told you, in social justice specifically, and even in Indian society, the questions that would be asked would certainly be of current issues because the issue has been in news, even if they are asking the general topic. For instance, they might ask you the current, if a significant episode of sexual harassment has happened in the country, they would ask you question like, do you think that India, the modern India, is free of patriarchy? Or what are the continuing impacts of patriarchy and how has it impacted women of India? Or do you think the workplaces, the public spaces in India are safe for women, and what has government done for it? So these are questions which are inspired by one particular incident. UPSC would never ask you to give the incident, or it would never make the reference to the incident itself. But if you know, if you are well versed with the current affairs, if you know what has been happening in our country over the year, you would be in a better position to anticipate the meaning of the question. I know you would write the same answer whether you know the episode of rape or not, but it would make a difference in the quality of your answer if you know the background story. You know, it happens in the real life also. Whenever you're talking to a person, if you know the background story, the conversation would be better. So always keep up with the current affairs that has happened. Then current affairs would also help you in enriching your answers with examples, with codes, with the judgments, with laws, with welfare schemes. So even if it is Indian society question, you can always end it with things like, okay, Supreme Court said so and so, so this is the thing which should be there. There are certain tricky questions sometimes which ask you to take a stand. Now you can't give your own opinion because that is not required, but you can back the stand that you take with the help of a Supreme Court verdict, or with the help of what the government has done in the past. So that would give a kind of credibility to the opinion or stand that you have taken. Okay, so current affairs and newspapers you need to be well versed with. And with newspapers, I mean, you need to go on reading editorials for society section. There are many things. For instance, the migrant issue that happened after lockdown. There were too many people who actually experienced the migration from the cities to their own villages. So if the question is there on the schemes and policies for migrants in India, the regionalism, then you can always give this example that the migrants do not have the social safety nets that should be there in India. They form the part of the unorganized sector. And if you have kept up with reading newspapers, you would know the data of migrants, you would know the states from which they belong, you know the states where migrants are reaching the maximum population, and it would always put you in a better stead. It would always make your answer better if you have knowledge of current affairs and newspapers. Then NCERT for Indian society, I would ask you to read class 12 sociology part 1 and part 2, which caters to Indian society. I'm not even asking you to read class 11. Just read class 12. In two parts the books are there for Indian society. And trust me, if you have read your NCERTs 3 to 4 times, and if you have made notes, there are no questions that are coming outside of it with respect to Indian society. You would be able to write so much better answers if you have done your NCERTs well. And this is the only source which I would continue to insist you, please do it. Do not miss out on it. This is the least you can do for Indian society, and this is the maybe only thing that is required for you to make sound definitions, make sound answers with concepts. As I have given you the example of communalism, in NCERT itself, it is given that communalism is not just religion. The definition is given over there. Where did the word commune come from? When it comes to difference between caste, varna, jati, you need to know the exact differences between these words, and then only you can proceed with the answers, right? So please read NCERTs properly. Apart from this, you need to read class 12 NCERT of Fundamentals of Human Geography and class 12 NCERT of Economy, India, People and Economy. So these 4 NCERTs would be enough for you for Indian society. This is the basic source that I would suggest. Now, if there are certain topics you feel you are not very comfortable, you can also search for NIOS and IGNOU notes for these particular topics. Like there are people who are not very comfortable with the tribal issues in India, the development of tribes in India, the tribal movement. So you can always, refer the particular topic from NIOS or IGNOU. It is available online also. If you simply search for the PDF, you enter the keyword that you are looking for, and it's also available in the market, but it's better that you search online because it's just one topic. Then government welfare schemes and laws for social justice. As I told you, you need to know all of these. It would be helpful in answering you the general questions also, and if the question is about a particular scheme, you would know the new schemes that have come and amendments or reforms that have been made. And Supreme Court and High Court judgments. If you quote these judgments, it would always make your answer look more credible and fetch you more marks. Okay. So these would be the sources. Then let me take you through certain PYQs so that you would know the kind of questions that are being asked and how well you can answer. So as I told you that if you read your syllabus well, you would know that every part of the syllabus the question has been asked from in the last 5 to 7 years. So the questions are not coming out of the blue. So the first part is salient features of Indian society. You would see the question, spirit of tolerance and love is not only an interesting feature of Indian society, but is also playing an important part at the present. Now you know the part of syllabus which it has come from, and if you have read your NCERTs well, class 12 NCERT part 1, over there the answer is right there. You don't even have to think during the exam, you don't have to search for the words. You just need to see the features which are catering to spirit of love and tolerance, and the question is asking you to only elaborate. You have to just explain, you have to go further with respect to this statement. You do not have to give your own view, You just have to prove what is stated there. Okay. Similarly, how does Indian society maintain continuity and traditional social values? So the answer looked easy, right? But if I ask you to write down the traditional social values, you would be confused with the words social and values and traditional. Again, I would say if you read the NCERTs well, you would know the traditional social values do come from the society. Our society happens to be a caste-ridden society, a religious society. So our values will be like that. We are a plural society, but we have stayed united. So brotherhood, exchange of culture, all those things would be part of society. So with the help of these keywords, you would be able to write a better answer. The questions is enumerate changes taking place in it and how these traditional cultural values have undergone changes. I'm not going into the details of the answer because this discussion is not for that. I'm just giving you an idea that why you need to study the syllabus, why you need to study this particular portion of the GS paper 1 or 2. Again, if you see diversity of India, from this particular topic, there were there were many questions from this particular topic, but I have taken only 3 just to give you an idea. One was, has caste lost its relevance in understanding multicultural Indian society? Now you would see that caste was nowhere there in the syllabus that we had discussed. The word caste was not there. Only the salient features of Indian society was there, diversity of India, and you would think that why is this being asked? But if you see diversity of India, you can actually break it down into how is Indian society diverse with respect to region, with respect to caste, with respect to religion, with respect to language, with respect to gender, and with respect to ethnicity. Okay, again in salient features of Indian society, you know caste is a part of Indian society, is a feature of Indian society. So the word caste actually appears in your syllabus twice, and you would see all the questions that have come from this part would be from one of these parameters. So if you can break down your syllabus into region, caste, religion, language, gender, and ethnicity, you see that no question is out of this, outside of this. Okay. So has caste lost its relevance in understanding the multicultural Indian society? Elaborate your answer with illustrations. So they are asking you to even provide with example the illustration. So if you have read your current affairs well, if you have read your Indian society part well, you would come up readily with the illustrations. Okay. In the context of diversity of India, can it be said that regions form cultural units rather than the states? Again, the question is catering to regions, and region is part of diversity of India. So when you are preparing this particular topic, that is Indian society, for your GS paper 1, please break it down into these micro topics so that you do not miss out. If you have read the regionalism in India, you would be very comfortable in giving this answer. If you have read about the caste in India, you would be comfortable in giving this answer. Then describe any 4 cultural elements of diversity in India and rate their relative significance in building national identity. Now 4 cultural elements you can pick from here itself. Religion is one cultural element, caste is another, language is another, ethnicity is another. Your answer is done right here. That is why I'm telling you, if you read PYQs, you would know that nothing is out of syllabus and you do not have to break your brains to come up with the answer. The answers are right there. Role of women and women's organization. The question in 2019 that was asked was, empowering women is the key to controlling population growth. Now this caters to 2 parts of the question of your syllabus. One, population and associated issues, and empowering women. Second, what are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? If you have read it even from the NCERT, you would be comfortable in answering this question. Similarly, women's movement in India has not addressed the issues of women of lower social strata. If you have read about women's movement, it is given in your NCERT or from any other source. If you have read even online, you would know that this question is very easy to answer and you don't even have to think even for 2 minutes. You would be ready with the answer. See, the purpose of my sharing this PYQs with you is not to give you answers that we would do in our program, that is Awake. I am here to tell you the importance of preparing this particular section of GS Mains and how to approach answers, where to find sources to answer these questions which look seemingly easy but are not. Okay. So please do not say that I haven't discussed the answers to these questions. They are available all over the internet. They are available in your PYQ answer booklets also. They are there. Different videos have been made. Even we have made certain videos with respect to previous year questions. So you can find answers. I'm not going to waste time. My purpose here is to help you start off with the topic of Indian society and social justice on the right footing. Okay, so that you do not move here and there. Then from population, discuss the main objectives of population education and point out the measure to achieve them in India. Now with respect to population education, what the question is trying to say, the family welfare programs, what are the associated issues of expanding population, what is demographic dividend. So if a population knows about these things, the skewed sex ratio, then it would be easy for the couples to make decision at their own end rather than government enforcing its decision on them. So this is what you understand by education population. How has government understood that from enforcing population control measures to having a welfare scheme in place or incentives for people to reduce the family size? Why is it important? So this is all about education population. And point out the measures to achieve them in India in detail. Even this has been discussed in your NCERT. Critically examine whether growing population is cause of poverty or poverty is the main cause of population increase in India. This is dealt with in your geography, human geography, and your society part also. Okay, so this is where the interlinkage is. Then poverty and developmental issues, as I told you, this could be part of your economy or social justice or Indian society. Here it is from Indian society, so you would see the question is like that: an essential condition to eradicate poverty is to liberate the poor from deprivation. Okay, now what is deprivation? How do you define deprivation? What is absolute, what is relative deprivation? Why are poor exposed to this deprivation? Why the cycle continues of deprivation? Why the poor remains the poor? Why is it at margins of the society? All these things could be answered in this question. Substantiate this statement with suitable examples. So the question is direct. It is asking you to explain or substantiate this statement. That is, it is asking you to prove this statement, not give any other viewpoint. This particular statement with the help of examples. Okay. So you would see, if you actually break this down, I'm just helping you with this particular question so that you would know that an essential condition to eradicate poverty is to liberate. Now here you can give examples of government efforts like Manrega, or you can also bring in the concept of universal basic income. You can you have to explain the word deprivation. So with the help of these things, you would be able to answer this question. If you know the government efforts, that is, what is deprivation? When a person is not getting his basic necessities, his basic needs on time, then he is deprived and he is not able to afford those things. He is called poor. The poverty line is that this is the basic calories that a person need to consume. That is the calorific poverty line. And if he is not able to have enough food, he won't be able to have those many calories, and hence he is poor. And to eradicate poverty, you need to remove this deprivation. And how would you do that? By providing those things which is causing the deprivation. That is, it is food, it is health facilities, it is shelter, it is clothing. So you would see the government programs are helping in eradicating deprivation through programs like midday meal scheme, through Manrega by giving them employment, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and similarly for health benefits also. So once you remove the deprivation, you have ended the cycle of poverty. This exactly what this question is asking. Substantiate this statement with suitable examples. You can give all these examples, that is, how do you liberate the poor by removing the deprivation. See, poor is not poor because of something of his own doing. He is poor because certain opportunities are not available to him. So you need to provide those opportunities, and it is the responsibility of the state to bring the poor out of the poverty by providing enough employment opportunities. So this is what this question was asking. Similarly, despite implementation of various programs for eradication of poverty by government in India, poverty is still existing. Here you have to talk about the development, the distribution of wealth, the social justice, the developmental deficits that are there. So all these things would be helpful in answering these questions. Then urbanization and problems and their remedies, discuss various social problems which originated out of speedy process of urbanization. Here you would be talking about the slums, you would be talking about poverty, you would be talking about the crime that is there. See, these are the keywords which need to appear in your answer, and if you have prepared well, you would get these, you would generate these keywords at the moment very easily. Then these are the direct questions. As I told you, there would be different kind of questions that would be asked, and in that, are we losing our local identity for global identity? Discuss. It is very general. That is, it is asking directly, and at the end of the statement there is discuss. That is, you need to discuss whether this statement is true or not. You can give your viewpoint at the end, that is in the conclusion, and it has to be a balanced viewpoint. You would say that yes, because of globalization, certain things of India have been generalized or universalized. For instance, everybody is wearing jeans now, everybody is going to the restaurants, or everybody is having furniture in their houses. There are similar kind of luggage bags, and which are of certain companies which we are carrying. So in a way, yes, with respect to food, with respect to dressing, we are losing our local identity for global identity. But there is also a reverse process where global things or the global companies are adopting our local identities to ensure market stays in place. For instance, in India, there is Mac Aloo Tikki burger. Now, Aloo Tikki, you understand, this is a part of Indian culture. So it is a both way process. There is an intermixing of culture, and then in the end you would see that even though there has been an impact of globalization on our local identity, but the local identity hasn't lost out completely, and we are still nurturing it, we are preserving it. All these things you have to write in your conclusion. Maintaining a balanced viewpoint. Discuss the positive and negative effects of globalization on women in India. Now, this is a very simple question. You have to give, say, 3 points, 4 points positive, 4 negative points on women on India. Now, you need to also understand the question and identify the keywords of the question. Do not proceed with giving the general impacts of globalization on society. The question is very specific to women, and you need to answer it in that way. So these are the things that you might make a mistake with. You might not realize it while reading the question, but read the question properly and answer to the question, and look at the stem word of the question, that is root word of the question, whether it is asking you to discuss, whether it is asking you to enumerate, whether it is asking you to elaborate, or it is asking your viewpoint, that is judge or analyze, critically analyze, or you know, all these things you need to understand. Then social empowerment, there would be various questions, especially with respect to you know, people who are marginalized in our society, and the empowerment is catering to their upliftment. So it would be mostly on Dalit identity, on scheduled tribes, on scheduled caste, on downtrodden. So these would be the part of segment of your syllabus. Communalism would have, this is part of your syllabus, and the question has been asked, that is, communalism arises due to power struggle or relative deprivation. You need to understand that how power struggle is leading to it and how deprivation is leading to it, and is it really one or the other. You need to, they have asked you to argue by giving suitable illustrations. You can conclude on a balanced viewpoint. Okay, so these are the kind of questions that are asked in society. Then with respect to social justice, let us see some of the questions. Now we have shifted from GS paper 1 to GS paper 2, so you would see the language of the questions would also change now. See, performance of welfare schemes that are implemented for vulnerable sections is not so effective due to absence of awareness and active involvement at all stages of policy processes. So you now see the onus has been put on the policy making. Onus has been put on the awareness. Now you see how the role of government and state has been brought in the question itself. So this is how this is different from your paper 1 questions. If you understand this basic difference with respect to paper 1 and paper 2 and you address the question directly on this, it would be very helpful to have that 1 or half extra mark. Performance of welfare schemes, it is given right there in your syllabus, the word. So that was a general question on all welfare schemes or all marginalized section. Then whether National Commission for Scheduled Caste, now scheduled caste form the institution that is there in your NCSE is an institution, it is a constitutional institution. So whether NCSE can enforce the implementation of constitutional reservation for scheduled caste in religious minority institutions. Examine. Again, it is talking about constitution, it is talking about a minority institution. So these are part of your polity. And if you have enough interlinkages, if you know your polity aspect, if you know your society aspect, this question can be addressed accordingly. And you need to bring in those forward and backward linkages with polity and society while answering. Do not have those, silos, those rigid silos in your head while answering, because this interlinkages would anyway help you in your preparation and in your answer writing. Then next question is Right of Persons with Disability Act. This was this act was there in 2016, and I think question was asked in 2017. So I've told you about the newspaper reading and current affairs. So if you have read it, you would be in a position to answer it. Then you would see that it is asking for mechanism for empowerment and inclusion of intended beneficiaries in the society. Whether is it effective or not. If you have, again, this is not asking you the provisions. It is simply asking you to take a stand, take a position and discuss whether they have been effective. You can state the provisions while answering this question, that because of this particular provision, yes, it has been effective. If you have read an article where it is lacking, you would be able to give the counter point of view also, that this and these things should have been included for a better effectiveness. Similarly, issues relating to development and management. Earn while you learn scheme needs to be strengthened to make vocational education skill training meaningful. You need to understand vocational training. Vocational training is a part of government policies. There are so many Kamao or Sikho schemes are there. Ustad scheme is there. Then vocational training has been made a part of your new education policy. So these interlinkages are there with respect to your entire GS2 syllabus, and if you are well versed with the other parts of that particular paper, you would know how to answer this question. Again, issues relating to poverty and hunger. Now, since this has been asked in GS paper 2, you would know that it is, the question has that context. For instance, the incidence and intensity of poverty are more important in determining poverty based on income alone. So it is asking you about the intensity and incidence. And since it is part of paper 2, it is actually talking about relative and absolute deprivation. And it is asking you that it is not based on income alone. So you have to bring in that, and you have to talk about the poverty index report, NMPIR. If you have read this report in your current affairs, and you know this report is brought out by the government, and hence this aspect of poverty is actually tackling your GS paper 2 syllabus. So you will answer it accordingly. Now, moving on, how to maximize marks. See, now you have read your syllabus well, you have prepared well, you have done your answer writing well before the exam. But there are certain tricks and tips which I would like to share with you. That is, if you follow these things with the same amount of effort, you would get better marks. So starting it, first is be well versed with syllabus and PYQs. As I told you, if you know your syllabus well, and as we have seen, all the previous year questions are falling in one or the other category of the syllabus. So pick those topics and prepare them holistically. See if the word regionalism is there in your syllabus, please read on it. What is regionalism? What is its definition? What are the various parameters of regionalism in India? If the word is secularism, you need to understand what do you understand by secularism. It has a different context in India and different context in Western countries. Similarly, communalism has a different context in India and in Western countries. So these differences, these nitty-gritties you should know before answering. If you know your syllabus and have prepared, your half the race is won. You have already prepared. Then note making. After reading the syllabus, while you are preparing your topics, always make your own notes, because one, it would help you to have better answer writing practice. Also, you would know how to give your answers in minimum of words, to express yourself in minimum of words. Two, it will enhance your speed of answer writing, and it will enhance your expression. Okay, so if it is and you are more familiar when you have written it in your own hand, you know, rather than going back. Moreover, you wouldn't have time to revise every time from the standard book, so it's better to have this practice of note making. It would definitely fetch you more marks if you are in practice of making your own notes. Avoid generalist answers. By saying avoid generalist answers, I mean to say that do not write like a layman. Do not write like, if it is asked about women empowerment, do not write that we need to educate women, we need to, you know, give them more freedom, we need to give them more space. That is a very generalistic kind of answer. Give the basis for the condition of women. Why is it so? What do you understand by patriarchy? What can be done in concrete steps you need to bring out? Where are we lacking as a society? Where are we lacking as a state? Where are we lacking on economic and political fronts? So when you move away from generalistic answers, from laymanish kind of language, this would definitely give you more marks, because it would give substance to your answers. If you're backing your answers with enough examples, with enough diagrams, with enough Supreme Court judgments, with enough welfare schemes, then it would make your answers stand apart. And to avoid making generalistic answers, writing generalistic answers, you need to have enough depth yourself at the level of knowledge. So make your foundation strong. Read those standard books, make your own notes, understand the syllabus, understand the questions, and then move on to write. Brevity, to the point. Do not write an answer beyond 150 words if it is in 150 words, or 200 words if it is of 200 words, because you would be penalized at two places for that. One, you would overrun the amount of time that was given to you to write that answer. Hence, you won't be able to complete the other questions. Two, because you have extended your answer beyond a point, the examiner would also be not interested in reading the entire answer. Because if it says 200 words and you have gone to 400 words, why is he, entitled to, read your entire answer? He would read the initial 200 words and mark you accordingly. So please respect the word limit that is given, because it also means the space limit and time limit. Okay. Then answer the question. Do not answer what you know. Answer what is being asked. Be very, very specific about reading the question, understanding the essence of question, from which part of the syllabus it has been asked. And if you are answering the question, trust me, it matters a lot as an examiner who's reading around 50 to 100 copies of similar answers. And if he finds in your entire answer sheet even one answer which has all these qualities, and if that answer happens to be your first or initial answers, he would award you some extra marks because you have made an impression as a personality, as a person on him. You have made his day with your knowledge, with your appearance, in the form of answer. So when you are answering the question, the examiner knows that you understand what is being asked in conversational form. You understand the demands. You understand that you have that knack to understand things and situations in their perspective. So these things, if you make note of and you take care, you would always have some 20-30 marks extra with the same amount of preparation. Then type of questions I have already discussed in my previous lecture, but anyway, examine, discuss and analyze is you have to simply examine the given statement. You have to go through the whatever the stem of the question is, and you have to move in the same direction. You can give positive and negative balanced view of the question and conclude with a positive conclusion. Elaborate, elucidate, describe, mention, enumerate. These are very direct. You do not even have to give the negative aspect of the situation or the question that is being asked. Whatever is there, you have to simply elaborate on it. We have seen the PYQs where these kind of keywords was there. What, how, why, has, is direct, and answer whatever is being asked. You don't have to even think what question is demanding. Critically examine, critically analyze. Again, have positive and negative, both the things in there, but have a balance. And maybe the negative perspective, that is why it is being asked, maybe the negative may have a weightage of 70% and positive a 30%, but in no case just stick to negative only. You have to give the positive aspect only, also maybe in the conclusion and also in introduction. Do you agree? Distinguish, debate, comment, justify. All these things are asking your point of view or question's point of view. Like in justify, they would be giving you a statement and they would ask you to prove that statement with help of examples and other things. Do you agree? Comment are asking for your viewpoint, but you don't have to say, okay, I feel this and this. They are not asking your explicit viewpoint, and you are not entitled to give that also. This is an examination, and your personality is being tested over here from your answer sheet. So you can give your stand or you can give viewpoint based on the backing you receive from valid sources, that is constitutional articles like Article 21, all the fundamental rights you can take help of. You can take help of laws, schemes made by the government. You can take help of the Supreme Court and High Court judgment. So all these things would give credible backing to the standpoint that you take or comment that you make. Okay, so in any way, do not be very negative in your viewpoint, even if you feel that this requires, and under no circumstances be very critical of the government or the Supreme Court. Doesn't look nice on your part to be critical of such established institutions of India. So always balance your answers. My last suggestion to you would be writing practice, and as I've told you in the beginning, that writing practice is one thing that would take you ahead in this examination. If you have been struggling in clearing mains or clearing interview, it is this writing practice which would see you through. Why, if you are struggling in interview, would writing practice make a difference? Because the weightage of marks in mains part of examination is much more than what is in interview. So if you are struggling for those 10 to 20 marks to clear the final cutoff, and which you are not getting at the interview stage, you can always have those marks at this stage. Okay, so please keep your writing practice up, get it reviewed, get your answers reviewed by the seniors, by your contemporaries, by your peers. See what mistakes you are making. make your answers interesting, and as I told you in my general discussion also, that is, you can have a structure of answer in 3 parts. You need to take care of the structure, the presentation of answer. You need to make it interesting. Do not keep on giving the same presentation to every answer. Have a balance of mix, have a mix of both kind of presentation, that is bullet points or short, small paragraph kind of answers. You can have a mix of flow charts, diagrams, so that every answer looks different and it caters to the demand of the question at the same time. So make use of enough anecdotes, examples, judgments, laws, quotes. So these are the things which would make your answer look beautiful. Okay, so these are accessories you need to have in your treasure. So this is about your approach towards the Indian society and social justice part. We would be discussing in detail how to go about it in our coming lectures, and if you like, you can also join our program that is Awake for this session, and you can always be ahead of your contemporaries with the help of perfect knowledge with respect to mains, the perfect approach that you need to know. Thank you for your time. I hope this discussion was helpful to you. We would continue seeing you in our program in our subsequent classes. Thank you.